My name is Olivia Willison. I'm 29 years old, and I'm the one who always gets things done. The oldest, the planner, the one who fixes things, makes lists, and keeps everything in line. I'm a project coordinator, so it's all about the schedules, the permits, the budgets, just the facts. And when I tell my family who I am, they say I'm steady. But what they really mean is, I'm the one who holds everything together so they don't have to. So I worked for years to get this house. My house. Not one of those cookie-cutter new constructions, but a small craftsman with a lemon tree in the yard and a porch swing if you promise to sit there. It's not fancy, but it's mine. I spent 4 years saving, overtime shifts, cutting out all the little extras. I got no applause for it. I didn't need it. I just needed the doors to close properly and the walls to stay quiet. The day I closed on the house, I sent a picture to the family group chat, keys in hand, sold sign behind me, and a simple caption. Housewarming next Saturday at 5. Chili, cornbread, fire pit if the wind cooperates. My mom responded with a heart emoji, my dad didn't reply at all, and my sister Tessa sent a sticker of a champagne bottle with a "Yas" caption. So, yeah, not exactly a celebration. I spent the week scrubbing, painting over scuffs, arranging everything just right. I even bought folding chairs and a rug that was way too big for my car. By Saturday, the house was ready. The chili was simmering, the cornbread in the oven, citronella candles lit, and the backyard strung with fairy lights. At 5 o'clock, I checked the road. Silence. At 5:11, I texted the group chat. ETA. My mom replied soon with a heart. My dad didn't answer. Tessa sent a photo of herself at a dealership standing next to a glossy red car, captioned, "We did a thing." I turned the lights on in the living room, expecting a rush of warmth and satisfaction, but instead, it felt like a staged photo. Clean, empty, quiet. At 5:41, my phone rang. It was my dad. "We need to talk," he said. I looked out at the empty porch. The sign that read "Welcome" suddenly felt like a joke. I didn't answer right away. The chili bubbled in the pot. I finally picked up the phone. "Okay," I said. "Right now," he said. No greeting, no congratulations. I leaned against the counter, my heart sinking. This was it, the start of the conversation that would determine how much they would expect from me next. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing. It was a series of messages, texts from Mom and Dad. No one had shown up to my housewarming, not even for 5 minutes. Instead, they had been celebrating Tessa's new car. When they finally arrived, unannounced, it was just after noon. They came like a team, all at once. Mom, Dad, and Tessa. The three of them piled in, as if they owned the place already. No shoes off, no awe at the lemon tree, no appreciation for the tiny fireplace I'd fallen in love with. Tessa didn't even bother to say anything about the house. Instead, she pulled out her phone to film her house tour for her followers. "Your house looks nice," she said, but it was as if she was just going through the motions, like my house was a set for her content. "Great, now that you're here," Dad said, his tone turning businesslike. "Let's talk about a few things." Tessa kept her phone on me, silently documenting everything. She didn't care to ask if I needed help with anything. She just wanted her followers to see her in a new, shiny setting. Dad went straight into it. "First thing, we need to get Tessa's car registered to your address. It'll lower her insurance. Not a big deal, right?" I stared at him. "What?" I asked. "No, it's not happening." Mom softened her voice, her hands moving in that way she does when she's trying to convince me. "She'll park here sometimes, Olivia. It's really not that big of a deal." Tessa chimes in, still holding her phone up. "It's literally a victimless crime," she said, rolling her eyes. I felt my anger build. "It's not about crime. It's about boundaries. I live here now, on my own. You don't get to use my address for convenience." Dad sighed and flipped open a clipboard he'd brought. "Well, while we're at it, we need to add me to the deed. It's for estate purposes, and we should get Tessa a loan for her business." "No," I snapped. "Absolutely not." Tessa looked at me with that annoyed, patronizing look she gives when I don't follow her lead. "So selfish, Olivia," she muttered. I looked at my dad, seeing the same look in his eyes. Like I was the problem here, not them. "This house was never meant to be a group project," I said, trying to hold my ground. "I worked for this. I didn't ask for any of this." Mom's face fell. "You're being dramatic." No, I'm not, I replied. I'm setting boundaries. Tessa picked up her phone again, dismissing me completely. Whatever. I invited you to my car celebration. You couldn't even show up. You went to a dealership, Tessa, I said coldly. Dad folded his arms. You're being rigid, Olivia. You can't always be the one saying no. I'm not saying no, I'm saying enough, I replied. This isn't your home, and it's not a free resource for you to exploit. It didn't take long for the situation to escalate. After my family left, I was left alone in the quiet house, the empty space feeling even more suffocating than before. I hadn't cried. I hadn't shouted. But inside, it felt like the dam was breaking. They hadn't even tried to understand how much this house meant to me. I spent the next few days on autopilot, running errands, getting things set up, ignoring my phone as it buzzed with messages from my family. The text thread had become a battleground, and every notification felt like an attack. They weren't asking for my approval. They were demanding it. Mom kept sending me messages about how this was for the family, how we raised you. Dad's texts were more direct. Refinancing, loans, equity lines, and now, you will host Thanksgiving this year because you have the space. It was as if I were meant to be the family's safety net forever. I was supposed to pick up the slack, fill in the gaps, make things work even when they didn't respect me or my choices. And then the quiet came. The family stopped texting for a day. That silence wasn't comforting. It was terrifying. It was like they were reloading for the next round. I didn't hear from Tessa, but I saw her Instagram stories. She'd posted a picture of her car with the caption, "Big changes are happening. #blessed, #manifesting." The irony was that she had been handed everything, while I had worked for every inch of my life. Yet she was the one being celebrated, the one who was always on the rise. I couldn't look at her posts anymore. I deleted the app for a few hours just to escape the constant reminder of how hollow everything felt. Then came the phone call I knew would happen. Dad showed up at my doorstep one morning, unannounced, just like he always did. The same power dynamics at play. He was hoping I would cave in, just like I always did before. This time, I wasn't going to let him in. I watched him through the peephole as he stood on my porch, fists clenched at his sides. He didn't ring the doorbell, but I knew what he wanted. He wanted to rewrite the rules. He wanted to pretend that he could still call the shots in my life. I didn't open the door. I didn't even respond to his text. Come out, we need to talk. I just stared at the phone and let the silence stretch. By the time I saw the email from my title company, I had already begun to prepare myself for what was coming. It was a notification of an inquiry. Someone had requested to add another party to the deed of my house. The name wasn't clear, but the implication was enough to make my stomach turn. My dad, my family, they were trying again. Trying to claim a piece of something that wasn't theirs. I forwarded the email to myself and printed it out. The moment I saw that scanned request form, I felt something cold settle deep inside me. They were getting bold, maybe even desperate. But they were still underestimating me. They thought I wouldn't notice. It was the last straw. I didn't respond immediately. I let them stew. I knew they would try again to guilt-trip me, and they did. Mom called. She tried that fake, concerned tone, asking me why I was being so stubborn, why I wouldn't listen to them. Dad texted, his message now laced with anger. You will regret this, Olivia. You will need us one day. The silence from Tessa had lasted only so long. She posted another story, this time a video of herself sitting in the car with a caption that read, "When your family just doesn't get it, but you keep shining anyway. #the haters will watch. #team Tessa." It was hard not to feel that sting. It was like she was rubbing salt in the wound, reminding me that she never had to fight for anything. And yet, she was the one who got the support. But I wasn't going to give in. That night, I did the things I'd been putting off. I changed the locks. I froze my credit. I called the dealership where Tessa had tried to use my address for her car registration. I wanted to make sure that the house was truly mine, that I was protected from whatever they would try next. I started a folder called House Paper Trail and filled it with all the documentation. Every email, every text, every phone call. I didn't trust them. Not anymore. They'd taught me that no amount of love or duty would stop them from taking whatever they wanted. And then, in a moment of rare clarity, I did something for me. I made a list of my house rules, things I should have done from the beginning, things that made sense now that I was finally standing firm. House rules. No one gets added to the deed. No one registers anything at my address unless they live here. No more free loans or family favors. If you want anything from me, you ask first and accept no for an answer. It wasn't just a list, it was a boundary, and this time I wasn't backing down. It's funny how the calm can feel so heavy. After I put the list of house rules in place, the silence that followed felt like a warning, a slow gathering of tension. The texts from Mom and Dad slowed to a trickle. Tessa's posts became less frequent. They were all trying to recalibrate, trying to figure out what kind of Olivia I was now. I didn't let it bother me. I kept myself busy, kept my routine intact. I spent hours in the yard, trimming the lemon tree, painting the fence, planting flowers in the space between the porch and the swing. Little things, quiet things. I knew this was my sanctuary, the only place in my life that no one could take from me, not without a fight. But I also knew that the silence wasn't going to last. They couldn't stay away forever. This wasn't over. They weren't going to just give up and let me have something for myself. I didn't know when it would happen, but I knew that when it did, it would come like a storm. 2 days later, my doorbell rang. It was early, too early for an unannounced visit. I checked the peephole before opening the door. There they were, Mom, Dad, and Tessa, standing in the driveway like they were waiting for an invitation. Dad held a clipboard again, just like he did the last time. He looked at me, his expression unreadable, but I saw the tightness in his jaw. They'd all come to try again. I could feel it in my bones. I took a deep breath, then opened the door. I wasn't going to let them bully me anymore. No more backtracking, no more hesitation. This time, I had the upper hand. "Hey, Mom, Dad, Tessa," I said, my voice calm but firm. "What can I do for you?" Mom's lips pressed together in that way she does when she's trying to be patient, trying to convince me that she's right. "We just wanted to talk, sweetheart. There's been a misunderstanding. We're family." "Yeah, we're family," I said. "But my house isn't a family project. It's mine, and no one gets to change that. Not for favors, not for business, not for anything." Dad glanced at the clipboard, then back at me. He took a step forward, like he was going to push his way in. "We've been talking, Olivia. You're making this harder than it needs to be. You don't understand how the world works. You need to think about your future. Tessa needs a little help with her business. A small loan, a down payment, just like we talked about." I shook my head. "No. You've had your chance to ask. You're not getting anything from me. I'm done playing that game." Tessa shifted, her arms crossed, a defensive look on her face. "You're so selfish, Olivia. You have a house now. That's all you wanted, right? To be alone?" I met her gaze, feeling the old frustration rise in my chest. "No, Tessa. What I want is respect. What I want is my own space. And what I want is for you to stop acting like the world owes you something." Mom stepped in, trying her best to smooth things over. "Olivia, don't be like this. Family helps family. You've always been the one who takes care of everything. Can't you help us now?" I took a deep breath, my resolve hardening. "I've helped. I've done my part. But this house? This is the one thing I've done for myself, and I'm not giving it up. Not for anyone." Dad's face darkened. "You'll regret this. You're isolating yourself from us. It won't end well." "No," I said, stepping forward and standing my ground. "It's you who don't understand. I'm protecting myself. I've been giving and giving for years. Now I'm saying no. This isn't about revenge. It's about boundaries." The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Dad stood there, looking at me like I had just betrayed everything he'd taught me about family and loyalty. But he didn't get it. He didn't understand what it meant to fight for yourself and stop letting people walk all over you. "Fine," Dad muttered, turning on his heel. "We're done here." I watched them go, my heart pounding in my chest. For a second, it felt like the world had just tilted on its axis. Tessa's smug expression as she climbed into her car. Dad's anger that burned beneath the surface. Mom's sadness, the kind that I'd seen too many times before. But this time, there was no guilt, no second guessing. I had made my choice. As they drove off, I stood on my porch, feeling the wind kick up the branches of the lemon tree. I let the sound of the wind and the leaves fill the space, drowning out the noise in my head. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. The family chat exploded a few hours later. Mom's first message was short but cutting. "You've broken our hearts, Olivia." Then came Dad's. "You'll come crawling back one day. We won't be here." Tessa, predictably, took her turn. "How does it feel to be cut off from your family? You've always been the problem." I didn't respond. I just muted the chat, setting my phone down beside me. The noise, the guilt, they weren't mine anymore. The next day, I went back to work on the house. The porch needed a fresh coat of paint. The garden needed tending. I could hear the wind chimes in the trees, a reminder that I had done the right thing, even when it felt impossible. When the next weekend came, I invited a few people from work, friends who had no agenda, no expectations, just people who appreciated me for who I was, not for what I could give them. We sat on the porch swing, eating chili and cornbread, laughing about nothing, and for the first time, the house felt like home. My home. No one could take that from me anymore. 2 weeks passed in a blur. The family chat remained frozen in a sea of silence, save for the occasional passive-aggressive message from Tessa or a brief call from Mom that I ignored. My phone stayed on silent, and I started to embrace the quiet. The peace that had felt foreign at first was becoming my new reality. I'd set boundaries, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was betraying anyone to do it. But just when I thought the storm had passed, the unexpected came knocking. I was cleaning the gutters one Saturday morning when I saw a car pull into the driveway. It wasn't my parents' usual truck or Tessa's flashy car. This one was a black sedan I didn't recognize. I straightened up, wiping the sweat off my forehead, and squinted against the sunlight. I wasn't expecting anyone. My first thought was that they had come back to apologize, to beg for forgiveness. Maybe Dad had realized his mistake. Maybe Mom was finally ready to see reason. But when the driver stepped out, I knew this wasn't about reconciliation. It was about control. I took a deep breath as the woman approached, holding a clipboard. She had the same professional, no-nonsense air that I had come to associate with people like Dad and his friends. She wore a suit, her heels clicking on the pavement with precision, as if she had rehearsed every step. She smiled at me, a little too tightly, as if trying to reassure herself more than me. "Olivia Wilson?" she asked, her tone clipped but polite. I nodded slowly. "Yes?" "I'm Jane Middleton," she said, holding out her hand. "I represent your family in regards to your property." My chest tightened. "My family?" She nodded. "I'm here to discuss the financial matters surrounding your home. Your father and mother, well, they feel there's some unfinished business regarding the deed. We've been trying to resolve it peacefully, but it seems we've reached a point where we need to take legal action." I stared at her for a moment, trying to understand what she was saying. My heart started to pound in my ears. Legal action? They were going to take me to court? "I'm not interested in any more of their schemes," I said, my voice low but firm. "If they want to talk about the house, they can come to me directly. But no one is going on my deed, and no one is getting any more of my money." Jane didn't flinch. She had the kind of calm that comes with experience. "I'm afraid this is beyond personal matters now, Olivia. You'll be hearing from us soon. If you don't want to comply, there will be consequences." Her words hit me like a slap. It wasn't just a family issue anymore. They were serious about trying to take what was mine. They had brought in a lawyer, someone who didn't care about the emotional ties, someone who only saw numbers and contracts. "Good luck with that," I said, turning away and walking back toward the house. "I'll be waiting." I closed the door behind me and leaned against it, the weight of what had just happened sinking in. They weren't going to stop. The quiet I had found in my sanctuary was now threatened by this new battle. They were going to drag me through every legal loophole they could find, just to try and break me, just to make me bend. But I wouldn't bend. I couldn't. Over the next few days, I found myself pulled into the storm again, despite my best efforts to avoid it. Calls from Jane became more frequent. My family left voicemail after voicemail, all sounding more desperate with each passing day. Tessa's social media ramped up, more passive-aggressive posts about family and loyalty. I had to mute everything. I couldn't let them get under my skin. The next month was a whirlwind of paperwork, legal threats, and constant back and forth with Jane Middleton. She filed motions. My parents filed their own papers. There were letters, official documents, and statements that all felt like they were designed to wear me down. I knew my family. They were good at pressure. They knew how to manipulate. But what they didn't know was that I had already made up my mind. I wasn't backing down. The day I received the final letter, the one telling me that I had no choice but to give in or face legal repercussions, was the day I realized something important. I wasn't fighting just for the house. I was fighting for myself. For the first time in my life, I had taken something for myself. It wasn't a gift. It wasn't handed to me. It was mine, and no one, not even my family, could take that from me. The court hearing was set. I showed up in the best suit I could afford, feeling like an outsider in the sterile world of law offices and legal jargon. I had no idea what the outcome would be, but I was prepared for anything. They had underestimated me, and that would be their mistake. The judge listened to the evidence and the arguments before rendering his decision. To my surprise, it was over quickly. He ruled in my favor. No one would be added to my deed. No one would get a say in how I lived my life or spent my money. When I walked out of the courthouse, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had won. Not just the legal battle, but the emotional one. The moment my family tried to take away my independence, I found the strength to fight for it. And I had come out on top. I didn't hear from them for a while after the ruling. No calls, no messages. The group chat stayed silent. It was strange, in a way. The battle had taken so much out of me, and now, with the victory in hand, I was left with an empty space where the chaos used to be. Eventually, Mom reached out, a single text. "I'm sorry." That was it. No explanation. No further effort to make things right. I didn't reply. Tessa sent a message, too. "You're really going to let this be the end?" I didn't respond to her either. I'd made my choice, and I had learned, the hard way, that sometimes protecting yourself means leaving behind the people who are supposed to love you. It doesn't mean you stop loving them. It just means you stop allowing them to hurt you. Weeks later, as I sat on my porch swing, the sun dipping below the horizon, I realized that I had finally found peace. Not in the victory over my family, but in the silence that followed. The house, my house, was everything I needed. It was a place where I could finally breathe, where I could rebuild, where I could be myself without fear. The lemon tree in the yard swayed gently in the wind. The world outside was still, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I had control.